Okay, ready? All right, I'm going to call this meeting of the Pacific Grove Unified School District Board of Education to order. It is a special meeting for March 26th. And we have our land acknowledgement first. Good evening. As we begin this meeting, it's important to pay respect to and acknowledge that we are on the traditional land of the Ohlone, the Costonoan and Esselen people, and additionally pay respect to elders, both past and present. All right, we have roll call.
Your acting president, Shamas.
Here.
Dr. Hazen.
Here.
Trustee Otmar.
Here.
And Trustee Wax.
Here.
Just to make note, President McNeary is not able to be here tonight. She is feeling ill.
Okay. We're going to go on to the adoption of the agenda. Do we have any public comment or any changes?
The only change to the agenda, we do have one expedited item. You'll find it under a W in your binders. It's one out-of-county activity that is happening on April 7th. We wanted to bring it forward tonight, so we didn't have to bring it as a ratification at the April 9th meeting. And then there was one correction made to the other out-of-county that was already on the agenda. But other than that, no changes to the actual agenda itself.
Go ahead.
We received the correction. Did we also receive the?
No, not.
Okay.
It's there in under tab W, Trustee Otmar, if you want to take a look at it before we can take some time for all of you to read it through. But it's an AVID field trip that's taking place on April 7th. And it just, they, really weren't able to get it through in time to make it on our last meeting. And so we wanted to bring it forward tonight for the board's approval.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Is it labeled on the consent or not yet?
It's under out-of-county activities, so
it's all under B.
correct.
Okay.
So we don't have to add anything to the actual agenda.
All right, got it. Okay, thank you. All right, so is there any public comment on that? Okay, seeing none in the audience here. May I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
I move to adopt the agenda as presented. I'll second.
Okay, motion by Mike Wax, seconded by Elliot Hazen. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion passes 4-0. Closed session tonight. We are going to go into closed session and we will be discussing negotiations, collective bargaining session, planning and preparation with PGTA for the 25-26 school year. Negotiations also with collective bargaining session with CSEA for 25-26. We will also be discussing public employee discipline, dismissal, release, leave, complaint, Government Code 54957, Subdivision B. And we will be also discussing superintendent goals mid-year check-in. And that is it. Any public comment on closed session items? Okay, seeing none, we will adjourn to closed session. We're back in open session at 7:02. Apologize for a little bit late, but we had important discussions going on. And reporting action taken in closed session, the first three were fake because we did not discuss them. And the last one we did discuss was D, superintendent goals, the mid-year check-in. So it was a very good discussion. No action taken on that. That was just information. All right, let's have a pledge of allegiance. All right, Mike, you're on. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so President McNeary's not here tonight, so that's why I'm taking over. All right, so we are on to consent then. And do we have any public comment on consent? No. Okay, and we have added to consent. And it's all good. Any public comment here on consent? All right, then I need a motion to approve.
I actually had
Yes.
something I wanted to pull.
All righty. Which one?
And it was the
Out of county?
out of county. And if I had everything up, I would tell you, but it's a Disneyland trip. I just had a
Oh.
question
Okay.
about. Gotta get my act together. The question was, I don't know if there's anyone here that could speak to it, so you can.
I
Okay.
think I'm ready to
Okay.
speak to it.
I just had a
Fun.
question about, so it says for this Disneyland trip that Sean Keller's driving in he's driving 6 students.
Yes.
I'm guessing that's a district van.
It's actually his personal car.
Okay.
And the only reason it's added there is that we have some students on a wait list, and we wanted to be sure that if they do end up going, rather than hiring and paying for a whole nother charter bus, he had volunteered and offered to, have his
That's
car
super
available and
nice.
drive them down.
Okay.
Yes.
And then the other question I had is I was looking at the times, and the time was a 1 a.m. pickup and then a 12 a.m. pickup from the place of, I don't have it in front of me, but
Yeah.
I was guessing that 12 a.m. pickup is at Disney. And so with the drive back, that would make a 30-hour trip. And I was a little concerned about having a single person driver if the only stopping point was there's a rest stop in Lost Hills. So are those times correct?
They are. It is just how the field trip has been, right? They've it's a 1 day turnaround. From what I do understand is the drivers do have, they're not part of the field trip itself, so they get to, obviously rest, while all the kiddos are at Disneyland.
Okay.
And so that's, kind of the
As long
approach to
as
it.
as
Yeah.
long as the single personal driver is having time to
Yeah.
sleep. I'm
Yes.
just imagining
Yeah,
Sean
no,
Keller after a
but-
30-hour day. I don't know.
Well,
But I just want to make sure it's safe, and I'm sure it would be, but just for clarity's sake for the community,
right.
that's how it's all unfolding. Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Okay.
I can
Motion-
make a motion to approve the consent then.
Thank
with that
you.
item, if it's still okay.
Yep, and I will second.
All right. Motion to approve the consent by Elliot and second by Laura. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion approved 4-0. Okay, now we are moving on to, this is special meeting, so we are having our information discussion, which is our board governance training and self-evaluation session. Do I have any public comment on that? None. Okay. Then are we moving to, we're moving our chairs. Okay. So Lou, you're going to lead us through this. Okay. Excellent.
But it's gonna end up where you want it to.
Okay.
Um, All right, so the evaluations. And there we go. And created check marks on where people fell. It's totally anonymous. And what I thought we would do, and I did notice that I think you're particularly hard on yourself. But I thought we'd go through each of them. There's not unanimity on what the scores should be on each question. And I thought we would talk about each one, and if there are areas that you want to emphasize, you can. If there are any ideas on how you can improve your performance in that particular area, then I wish you would state what your ideas might be, and hopefully what we'll end up with is an idea of perhaps 2 to 5 goals that each person can commit to at the end of how you'd like to make yourselves a better board, a better, higher functioning board. Okay. So with that, and our time, we're scheduled to go until 10 o'clock tonight. And we don't have to use all that time if we're efficient. But we have it available if we need it. So let's go ahead and take a look. On the first question, was each board member acts in the best interest of the entire district rather than one segment of the district or a special interest group? There are 2 indications that you're below average on it, or less than what you would like it to be. Is there anybody who wants to speak to that particular area or expand on their mark or question what the thought might be where you fail to recognize that you are performing at an acceptable level?
I'll say just, a quick comment. I don't even remember my scores anymore, what I did. So I may have been one of the 2s, I may not have. But if it was, again, from a self-reflection standpoint, I think it can be difficult as being a board member and a parent or a grandparent to always be, to be separating those roles at times. And so I could see that being a situation where I would say sometimes I do not always do the best acting in the entire district. I try, but doesn't mean I always do.
Okay.
In terms of interest?
Acting in the best
Best interest of the
right.
district rather than one segment of the district.
Right. Like, am I
special.
trying to put too much attention if my son is on the soccer team in the middle school and I'm trying to, I don't think I am, but I just.
He just did.
Just did. Strike one. Yeah, but just in general, I think sometimes it's hard, how much do we look? And I think it's just a realistic aspect is how much when we're making decisions, are we looking through the lens of a board member or are we looking through the lens of a parent, right? I think I would argue it's like 20/20 vision. Probably one eye is really focused on one eye is focused on the other, and we're trying to bring them as close together as possible. But that would be my thought there is. It's hard to make a decision that is entirely absent my own family self-interest, if that makes sense.
Well, I felt that I think I gave the 5 because I really felt that I never heard anything from anybody that made me think, oh, well, he or she is only speaking for a certain group, or I really didn't think I ever heard that. So.
All right. Well, I think Elliot has had a confession, which is absolutely legitimate. Thank you for the honesty. I think it's hard to sometimes separate yourself from the district as a whole. If my son or daughter is going to Robert Down, do I ever think about, should I give Robert Down a little bit more? Or if my son or daughter is playing soccer, should we be a little bit more supportive of the soccer team than we are of the baseball team? Yeah. The self-awareness is important. And I think if you have that self-awareness, you can guard against having an imbalance in what your dedication and your knowledge and your support is. So
Yeah, again, I know you have to wake up at 4:30 and everything, but like, I feel having that recognition and knowing that I'm a parent with kids at Forest Grove and maybe being aware of, I mean, most of what I know about the district, even as a board member, is still anecdotal to my experience as a parent of those kids. But I still don't feel like we act out of self-interest when we vote on things, or I haven't felt that. I mean, that's just personally me. Like, I don't think I guess our parental mix is kind of varied anyways, but like, it doesn't seem like schools have been unevenly favored this way or that. So
No, I agree with that. I was thinking more like, I'll give an example. And again, I'm bringing this up as a hypothetical a bit, but I'm going to target it at you since you're talking. But like, for example, like the tech policy, right? I know that was one that you voted no on, when we were talking about the refresh. Like, how much was that for your desire not to want your kids to have tech in the classroom versus is that really what's best for the entire district? And I'm not saying that it's either or.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is probably a blend of those two, I would say. And that's kind of my admission is that when I make some, I'm trying to think if there was a similar one. Probably mine would be the opposite. Like, I love my technology. So I know that like,
I love mine too.
right. So I probably would vote a little more knowing that I have found such a use in technology, such an important part of my life that I want us to have the best tech in the district, right? Because of my biases in that way. So I think it's more of a unconscious bias than anything I'm doing intentionally. That I would just start to say we probably all have to different degrees. I mean, would you care, Laura, about allergies if that wasn't something as much that your kids were dealing with, right?
Well, it's interesting because what I was going to say is I feel like as a parent, if I was not a parent and I was on this board, I don't know that I would vote very differently. I don't know, but as a parent, I'm kind of like, I want to be a mom to everybody. I want to protect everybody. And so I will like pull consent items to make sure everyone's gotten enough sleep. Because if that was my kid, so it's like that kind of thing where I'm almost overly cautious. So that could be, I don't know if that's a special interest group, but over concerned moms, I'm representing them. But I mean, so I can't remember how I voted either, but yeah, even as far as allergies, it's like the push was, let's make sure everybody is safe because I now recognize that there are kids throughout this district that maybe are underrepresented that have allergies. So now and staff members. So now there's epinephrine at every site and everyone's trained on it. So, it's sort of, sometimes it works out for the greater good, but it's interesting because when you get these questions too, I'd like to kind of preface this whole thing, but it's like any survey that you take. Sometimes surveys are mood dependent, right? Like it matters what meeting you've just come out of.
Yeah.
It matters where you are in your life. It matters what interactions you had over the past month or so.
Or in the last hour.
Yeah.
And so there could be time, like, if we took the survey 3 different times, you might get 3 completely different answers out of me because I'm a
True.
human being that I have fluctuating emotions. And so I would like to say before we start this too, that I think we should all take this with a little bit of a grain of salt because none of these are permanent. Yeah. I mean, it's going to
Thank
fluctuate.
you. That really excellent point. And so maybe we go a little quicker then.
Yeah, sorry.
Because we didn't go. Yeah.
All that is to say.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point. Yeah. There was some indication that maybe community values are not adequately reflected at the board meeting. Is that a serious issue?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's
I
talk
would
about
say yes. I feel like community members make a big effort, especially those that have kids and are working or just in general, to take the effort to reach out, to be engaged with what's happening in this district. I think there's a fine line between responding to every communication. It's nice to do, but it's also getting a response or receiving a response versus having your voice heard. They're two completely different things. And I think that in this community and in this district, people receive responses to their emails, but they're not necessarily heard. And I think we saw that in the budget subcommittee, in that meeting that followed that, and with the layoffs and that kind of thing. I think a lot of input came in from the community, but the decision had already been made. And so I think then that reverberates back out to the community, and it gives the impression that, yeah, we'll listen, but we won't hear. And so, or we'll hear, but we won't listen, whatever. But we're not absorbing the information that you're giving us. We're simply, so in that, that's one example, but I've seen it in my 4 years on the board that the community speaks, and sometimes they're heard and sometimes they're not. And I think that can be frustrating, especially to, taxpayers, but parents in the district or grandparents in the district or people that have kids that they care about in this district. And so we could do a better job at that.
I'll add a slight addendum, only that I worry similarly but differently, that it's, to me, it's the squeaky wheel gets a grease concern, is that I sometimes worry that we're hearing the people that are speaking, but we're not actually hearing some of those that don't maybe feel safe to speak, whether it's, maybe their staff members that don't feel like they have a good role to be able to go and speak on some of the stuff, or whomever. And so that was, I think, if I was the two, which I don't know if I was, but, or even the four, is I think that would be the problem is it puts it on us. I don't know how much that is the Brown Act and the way we meet versus us as a board. And that's a difficult one in this. Separate.
Any other comments on that particular?
I just would like to say, I also agree that the situation of the squeaky wheel is a difficult one, because that's, but when there's a overwhelming number of community members coming forward about something, if they're not heard, then the chances of them coming forward again are going to be less, and then less, and then less. So I just, and you're right. I mean, realistically, we vote on what comes in front of us in a packet, and we can add stuff to the agenda, but at the same time, it's a lot of things that are presented to us are out of our hands. They come to us and we make a decision. We're not creating the things that are coming to us. So it still feels weird after 4 years. It's frustrating and it's a strange situation to be in, because you want to make change and do things, but there's a 1,200 page packet that needs to be read or whatever. But anyway.
I mean, this is ironic because of the first question and now the second question, but I feel differently about specifically the budget subcommittee. I mean, I know I was part of it, but it was really like, for me, one, I didn't feel like the decision was made. That was the point of taking a vote and everything. But also, I think being a board member sometimes is hearing everything. And I understand, like, maybe people did not feel like their voice was heard. But personally, I guess, like, I heard it, and it was out of all the pain and terrible things. Like, I guess I was like most personally conflicted about community high school, personally. But like, for the greater good, as a taxpayer, I still had to keep that in mind, so like, it is just a delicate balance of, especially in a small district where it's like everyone and everything. But and if people interpreted my stuff or whatever as like having dead set on this decision, I wasn't. It was just like these fiscal decisions had to be made. And again, I'm like not really positive that it was solved, but it's like trying to push some incremental improvement, you know? But in general, that was very specific, but in general, I don't know if community values are supported. Not like that's not like we're not doing her job. I just feel like in my own like family and just like I don't really know what's going on in the community, and you know it's a very small area. So
Well, it's hard. Like, how does a tran represent community values, right? It's something we have to do. And it's so much of our policy, what we have to do is not community values. It's keeping our fiscal solvency or keeping the district moving. So that's the difficulty. And I think your example is a very good one, Mike, because it's like, you know, we can hear some of these things, but like, again, I mean, yeah, there have been many votes, I would say, in my years on the board have been so conflicted because in my heart, I want to do X, but I know for the district that, or I believe, I shouldn't say I know, but in my voting role for the district, Y is the right thing to do, even though X feels better, it sounds better, it's what I want for everything, but I just can't get behind it knowing what the consequences would be. That makes sense. So that's a difficulty. And that does lead to potential disenfranchisement from the community because it seems like we told you we needed this. We said 100 people signed a petition and said we need this, and then you didn't do it. And it's hard. I don't know of a way we solve that because I think that is going to make the community feel like they weren't heard.
and I mean, I mean to take on the other hand of me, I mean, clearly we weren't listening to community values in a way because our community voted for this bond and then I voted to cut like digital education and that sort of thing. It's just sticky and messy to me. Yeah. But
Don't close that going in.
yeah. Thanks. Okay.
Your task is to balance competing interests.
Yeah,
Eh,
yeah, I think you have to, the job of the board is to be sure that the public understands the reasons for your upcoming vote. Okay, and to that extent, you may hear blowback because you didn't give adequate reasoning
Yeah.
to enough people.
Yeah.
And so you're getting blowback because they don't get it. So that's something that you want to look at and balance for sure. But our charge is number one to employ the superintendent, and number two, to be fiscally solvent as well as deliver an education. So, that's a community value too. They voted for us to do that. So the other values that come up, like whether this teacher is more important than something else, or, is going to be kind of personal on certain or a value to certain groups, maybe. But I think that you can go a long way by letting people know that you have heard them and you wish that you could accommodate what they want, and it's not possible right now. I just think about this one guy that came to the board meeting before I was on the board, and he got up there and he said, okay, you guys really need to look at engineering. You are missing the boat at the high school because you are not focusing on engineering, and it is a big up and coming field. You need to be. And then, what whoever was the board president said, well, thank you for your comments. That's it. But what you can do to say to this person is, would you like to please put that on an agenda? You have the right as the public to suggest an agenda item. And, because really, if you really want something seriously discussed, that's the only way it's going to happen. If you just come up and make a suggestion one time at a board meeting, it's going to get dismissed. So those are ways that we as a board can, help the public be more involved, So-
Yeah, that I mean, that's amazing to me, like giving the public the tools about better tools about how things are done and how to get more of what you want out there. I think, in general, we as a district and we as a board just need to do. So basically the pro forma, like, thank you for your comment, is not satisfying. But the suggestion about how to get that going would be great, in my opinion.
Thank you. It's a concrete suggestion. Thank
Mhm.
you.
But it's a balance. Sorry, I hate to say that. It's a balance because if I come up and I say, I want all the kids to learn about flying spaghetti monster. And now Beth is president, are you going to say, hey, if you want, please put that as a future agenda item? So it's like by saying that comment, you're making a statement.
I will be.
Right. But then I think that's the difficulty.
Well, it is difficult, but you kind of, I've been board president in the past. And I've had to deal with people who are very passionate coming up to the podium. And I could see that just saying thank you for your comment was going to be so defeating, and they would walk,
Dismissive.
they would walk away like, and so those are the people that you have to give them something, you have to be able to say something to them without veering into a conversation or anything, but you have to be able to recognize that they are, very passionate about this or upset about this, and that we as a board are taking that in. You have to let them know we are really hearing you, and contact us later or whatever it is.
That's I think the key thing is there's other tools too, like
Yes,
please reach out to
contact
the
us,
superintendent or please follow up.
exactly.
There's different tools we can use because I think
Yes,
we don't want to tell everyone to put it on the agenda. but
No,
I
no,
think your
of
point-
course.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're
Right. I
right.
think sometimes if it's something that egregious or,
Yeah.
they're coming forward and complaining about, whatever it could be, that comment
Yeah.
alone, superintendent will be following up with you directly or something like that can be
Yeah.
very powerful.
Yes,
Yeah, right.
yes.
Good points. Good points. I'm going to move to the next page.
Yeah.
No, I think there's a judgment call. If somebody wants to how to discuss how to defend against the alien invasion, you may not take that real seriously. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Board members attempt to assure the community educational aspirations are adequately reflected at board meetings, and there was at least one who felt that was not adequately done.
I think we kind of dealt with that previously, but I
Okay.
don't know what you guys do as well with number 2, but
There's anything anybody wants to say, or we can move on, but. Next one is during the decision-making process, board members think independently, but are careful not to make statements or commitments on behalf of the board. At least one person felt that we weren't doing that adequately. Anybody want to expand or comment on that? I think you're just hard on yourself when you felt. Yeah.
well, I think this one is always a balance to me because I think it's very hard to say. I mean, I think we can all do better about saying this is something I'm interested in, or do we all agree on this? And then that way we can make sure that, because I think it can be easy, especially even like future agenda items. Like it's very easy to just be like, hey, this is something I'm really interested in. And I think when you leave that without the board, do we all agree? I don't know if that's, again, I don't know what I
So it's
am.
a matter of how you communicate it.
Yeah,
To see if you get, okay,
it is my opinion, not on the board. I mean, I think that, yeah.
yeah. Once a decision is made, all board members respect and support the decision, and the board speaks with one voice, and there's at least two who felt that was not sufficiently done.
I think I gave it the 5.
Anybody want to speak to,
Might be a little bit of a hangover from past boards and past decisions where things have come up, but I think there's just times where things come back up after a decision's been made. And I think that's something that I would challenge us all with. If a vote went the way you didn't want it to, if you run into someone in the grocery store, are you going to say, well, I voted against that, but this, or are you going to be like, yeah, this is what the board decided and this is a tough decision and this is why. That's something I just think we all could try to do better with, but it's not an easy one. And I don't know, I don't remember.
Is there a sense that board members try to undercut decisions of the board if they voted against it? Because that's what this one really goes to.
I don't think that, I think undercut, I've not seen anyone try to undercut another board member at that. I don't think that that's, I can't remember what I answered either, but it wasn't the 5. Um,
Okay.
but I think, yeah, it's hard to nail something down when I'm thinking of this. I will say though, I never talk to anyone at the grocery store before. They try, but it doesn't happen. But I mean, really for this one, I'd say, it is difficult. It's difficult, you know, when things don't go, especially if it's not unanimous, you know,
Yeah.
that can be hard and it does depend on what it is, you know, and if it's, I won't say contentious, but you know, if there's emotion behind it, which of course there's going to be because we all care about what we're doing. There's no way around it. But as far as undercutting or doing anything that's sort of like undermining to another board member, that's not happening. That's
Yeah.
not how I took the question at all.
Okay. This is an important one because there are boards out there that do. If they voted against it, then they might, and they lost on the vote, they might represent, well, that's what they did, as opposed to, I'm part of that board and I'm standing by the decision of that board, whether I agree with it or not. That is critical in maintaining public confidence in the board. And if board members do go out and say, well, they did this and separate themselves from the group as opposed to supporting a decision that may not have been something they wanted, then you're going to start dividing the community into that. And that's not healthy for your district. But I don't see your board doing that.
No, and I think that when we have something to say, we say it at the dais.
Yeah.
It gets out. I mean, we're not, I
Yeah.
don't think anybody here is like pussyfooting around each other that we're not going to say something. So we, you know,
Okay.
so I feel like people know how we feel because we say so,
Yeah.
you know, in the discussion or know what we're representing or I don't know. But yeah, I think once it's done, that I've heard, no one's going around in the community and saying, you know, not my board or whatever.
Not
Yeah.
my decision. I didn't do.
I don't feel like it's undercut, but like the speak with one voice, like after what's the security? The police officer role.
Safety, yeah.
That's right. Like after that, you weren't there at that meeting and like, you know, it wasn't like we voted against this. I know because you weren't there, so you couldn't voice your opinion at that time, but it's like, it's still, I don't know, it feels sometimes like you all did this and not me, you know, whereas like once a decision is made, the board voted collectively to do this, you know, like, it's not an undercutting, it's just like a speaking with one voice after the fact. I feel. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like it's not my board, but it's like
It's not support of the decision either there, right? It's not like supporting.
yeah, or like saying that the board did it, you know, even if it's contentious, it's still the result of the majority or whatever.
All right.
Keep on shafting on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for that.
Okay.
I think it's important to recognize that if you want to maintain community support, whether you agree with a particular decision or not, it was our collective decision. I voted against it. I expressed my views. I gave my opinion, and my end result is we're moving in this direction, and I'm going to support that. Okay. That's going to reinforce community support for your district. as opposed to start dividing it into segments and groups. The next one you're unanimous on. You all are very good about closed session information. So there's no question there. There's one person who had a concern about the board works to strengthen public confidence in the board and the district leadership. Is there a feeling that the board?
I think it's tough when there are tough decisions. It's sometimes hard to focus on the decision and not the people making it that way. Or when there's a tough decision, it's hard to sometimes focus on the decision and not the people making the decision.
Oh, yeah.
Or a mistake. Like, I mean, I can't think of mistakes in the packet. Like, I know we're all can be potentially hard on ourselves for that sort of stuff, but is it a grave, again, or do we all make mistakes and look for ways to fix them? It's like just that perspective as a whole, I think I would say. That was probably where I might have done it too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that was, I don't remember for sure.
Okay. Next one was board members understand and comply with their commitments to each other, reflected in the board governance handbook, and there was one lower mark. Does anybody want to speak to that? Okay. All meetings comply with the Brown Act. One felt that there may be an issue there. Is that a deep concern or serious concern somebody wants to speak to?
That was me. The
Okay.
2 was for me, and that came out of the subcommittee. So when you have 2 board members in basically what amounts to a closed session with others, not a board closed session, but inside of a closed meeting, the likelihood of a Brown Act violation is pretty high. You just need one comment to one other board member or one brief conversation, and now you've got a true Brown Act violation. So, especially when it came to the budget subcommittee, I had concerns about that. And I don't know for sure, but my sense is that there may have been conversation outside of what occurred in that meeting. I don't know, but the perception could be there to me. The perception's there for me. It could be there to the community. And it's a really bad look for our district when you have 2 trustees making decisions or coming up with options, no matter what it is, budget subcommittee, any subcommittee, truly, it's something that we need to look at because you do come up with it really does it can lend to the perception easily that we would be in violation of a Brown Act. So I was the 2 on that because I feel like we could do things better when it comes to subcommittee work. I don't know how other districts do that. I mean, but with a board of 5, you kind of get stuck. We're not, maybe the subcommittee has 1, I don't know. But it can be pretty slippery, I think. And it wouldn't be a good look.
Like you're saying, like the 2 from the subcommittee would talk to a third?
Right. Or
I mean,
or one would talk to a third, and now you have what is it called?
Yeah, it's
serial.
a serial meeting.
It's a serial meeting.
Yeah.
So it's excluded. So it's just not a good look,
Okay.
to speak for myself, I talked to no one. I mean, like,
No, I get it, but here's the thing is
Appearance,
it's
yeah.
the appearance, whether you do or you do not, the appearance can be there. So someone from the community could say, or somebody that might not agree with the decision could say, oh, well, you know what happened? There was 2 of them in that meeting and all I got to do is talk to one. And then there you go. And then because we did have a vote that was 3-2. So what happened there? And then you get into the public questioning if things are happening behind the scenes. So I gave it a 2 because I think that we need to improve that process for appearance sake.
Appreciate that.
I get that. Unrelated, just again, I want to go on record. I feel like I brought this up on record before, but I feel like the Brown Act is so like the impact of it is like so not how it was intended. And if I ever have energy, I would go to Sacramento to be like, there's got to be a better way to do this. Yeah.
Yeah, it has created some problems.
limiting the specific facets of it too.
Yes, yes, it's-
I think the biggest limitation is that just, I think the limitation, the restriction on just ability for relationships and connection, with one another as trustees, because I think there's such a fear about that, oh, we're going to violate something, right? And even just for us to get together as a governance team, right? And in the community, if we're doing something social, right?
It has to be out in the open.
Exactly, yeah.
But would you discourage two board members from being on a subcommittee because of that?
It's not a Brown Act violation. And number 9 actually goes to Brown Act violation. Do we comply with the Brown Act? So I think what we're talking about now is potential perceptions of the public of a Brown Act violation. And whether it's a concern out there, if there is a buzz out there and people are talking about, then maybe it's something you address. If it depends on how important it is, seriously, this issue is to you. From a legal perspective, it is not a Brown Act violation. As long as the two board members who are on the committee don't speak to a third outside of a meeting. If they speak to a third outside of the meeting, it's a Brown Act violation. This is what we decided. I wanted you to know, blah, blah, blah. That is a Brown Act violation. But to come and report, this is what we discussed at the meeting, at a regular meeting or special meeting, it's not an issue, not a legal issue. Yeah. Okay. Are we okay with moving on to the next? Okay. Board presidents and superintendents jointly develop an agenda that reflects the needs of the board, the superintendent, and the district. And there was one who thought this area needs major improvement. Is there something we want to address?
I'll just say quickly, I'm pretty sure I was not the one, but I think 9 and 10, both of these is again, that perception. And I think it's just a natural in this process inequality in power, right? I mean, the board president and clerk have the ability to set the agenda. And so sometimes if people come, they're like, wait, I don't remember this being on a future. Like, I think it just creates that perception that is, again, may not reflect reality, that is difficult, again, because of the Brown Act, that we can't say that, President McNary can't say to all of us, hey, this is what the agenda looks like. What do you guys think? So that means you're creating a power imbalance that can create that perception. That's where I interpreted 9 and 10.
Yeah. Are you still using the system? I know you were before, and at one point, the board was not as united as it currently is. And there was more of a division among the board. And I think that may have led you to have the clerk and the board president meet with the superintendent and setting the agenda. That is not totally common. It's usually just the president and the superintendent who meet. You might want to think, do we want to continue that? If you're having the clerk and the board president meet, is that something you want to continue? Is it a problem? Is there community perception an issue, et cetera? So it's something you might want to think about in the future.
Clerk Schmalz, you are setting the agenda with President McNary?
Yes, I go in there. And I'll just say from my past here, we always did that.
Okay. Okay.
Well, I think
Yeah.
it's a good idea too. I mean, maybe not for you because you've already had the role of board president, but a lot of times the clerk is the one that assumes the role of president. So having the
Mhm.
clerk in during agenda setting meetings, I think is nice just because then it's not a huge shock when they go in and then the board is kind of set back or you're having to guide somebody. I don't know. I mean, I think it makes sense.
Well, also yeah, I'm in favor of it because it's more eyes on the agenda.
Mhm.
I mean, if we can't all decide the agenda, at least, I don't know what percentage to go by, it's.
I'm just kidding. I don't know.
It's just, it's not one person dictating the agenda, there's some, so I think it's.
Yeah, and I think too that, the board president should be checking in with the rest of the board. If there's a style of the agenda that another board member feels isn't working well, that's, then you want that input. because when you're setting the agenda, I mean, the superintendent is bringing the items. You're not creating items most of the time. So the two people that are there, the president and the clerk, are really just affirming the order and how long things should take. And do we want to put this over here or there? So that's really what's happening there. It's more than discussing any subject per se. It's about procedures. And but a board president should be checking in with the rest of the board to see that the way it's construed or constructed is okay with everyone, or you have other suggestions. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes you'll say, hey, this item's way at the bottom and we got all these people here. Can we move it to the top?
Or, I mean, in the past, you pulled an item from consent because it was like
Yes.
reporting, like
Yeah.
an annual reporting thing.
I will do that, but
Yeah.
no.
I like the idea of the two, only because I think sometimes there will be something you miss if it's just you with the president. I think, that additional voice of, the clerk brings on another perspective very often, right? So, I mean, it's definitely valuable, but I get that it's unusual as well, Lou. And, I think it's something.
Just one quick addition that in the past board, we did allow rotational too. I don't know if that's something we want to consider, that it's not the president, the clerk every time. But someone else, if they wanted that chance to go and do that, because it is a valuable learning experience. Sorry, Clerk Shalos, maybe I got you out of a meeting or two. But that just might be something we want to reconsider.
No, that was something I advocated before, was just to give other board members a chance to, put in their time with that.
Doesn't sound like this is a major issue for you. All right, the next two, actually, everybody was in agreement that it's adequate, not well done. So unless you want to talk about 11 and 12, we can move to 13. So.
I think for some of the items that we know we're receiving, or some of the issues that we're receiving on like an annual schedule or big things, maybe we can't, but it would be nice to get that portion of the presentation or information before. Yeah, if possible, because we know they're coming in, scrambling over the weekend or whatever to read a giant packet isn't cohesive for thinking deeply about a subject all the time or that sort of thing. So if possible, I'd like more time because I'm a procrastinator.
Right. So it could almost be like a living packet where it's like, as things are finalized, they could go in, it could be a Google Doc. So people can go in and see, like, obviously one is finalized, but I don't know if that's what you're considering.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it would apply to every meeting, but like the budget stuff, I mean, I don't think it really helped the budget subcommittee's case or the district's recommendation to put that off until the Friday before the vote, to kind of sit with it and then be able to ask questions would be helpful, Yeah.
From a staff perspective, I mean, that's time crunch that week.
I know.
Getting everything ready, so I think for us to even get it by that Friday before the meeting, especially when, 2 meetings in a month, it's just a lot of, time and effort, to get them ready. Right. And I hear what you're saying is if we had it, ready by the Wednesday, could we send it in advance? I think the only challenge with that, Lou, and I think, anything we're sharing with the board in advance of posting to the community, I think
it's got to be posted at the same time it's given to the board.
Well, something.
I really appreciate the shot.
Yeah, this is a common problem because of the complexity of a district and the staff and all the demands of trying to get everything together. Yeah, it's hard. Two felt that the meeting length is not appropriate, and I suspect that is not that it's too short.
Oh wait, we skipped over 12.
Because everybody.
I see. Okay, sorry.
But we can talk about it.
No. And I would say 13 and 16 are kind of tied together too.
Yeah. So thoughts about 13, what length of the meeting? Yeah.
I don't remember if I was the one or the two, but I'm definitely not a three. So I'm either the one or the two. They run long, and the community's not going to hang on to watch a late meeting. So I think that we could do a better job of consolidating. And it's hard too, because I like to talk, so I'm probably part of the problem, but I think that we could do a better job of consolidating.
Like limiting the amount of agenda items sometimes.
I don't know, but I feel like it's just, yeah, I don't know. I just marked my mark, and I think that they run long. I don't know that I have a solution, but
Is it board comment? Is it something the board can control in terms of? There are some districts that limit the board members' comment time as well as the public's comment time. Just because they have some board members who talk a lot more than others. I don't, what would you do to shorten?
I think some of it, can I speak to that? a
Yeah,
little?
yeah,
I mean,
go
I think
ahead,
some of
Emma.
it's filler sometimes, and I don't think that's by any design, but I know I'm not a good awkward pause person. So sometimes I will say things if I feel like something should be said, but it's not necessarily always in the best interest of the meeting's efficient. So I think that's one. And I think I'll, especially since she's not here, but for President McNary, she's in the toughest spot because she has the most she has to say. But it's again, how do you say it as concisely and efficiently as possible so that you're not, extending things on? And that's a difficult balance to have.
How late are your meetings running? What's your normal end time?
We've gotten a lot better.
We've gotten better,
We've
but
had
I mean,
some late
we've had
ones,
some
I
real
would
late ones.
say, in the past couple of months, that have gone right long,
Yeah.
right? But yeah, and I think
Yeah.
that's maybe,
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I-
God. I'd walk out. Then I
Yeah.
need my walkout music. I'd really need one.
Lou, I think that.
Yeah. Oh,
Your mic's not on.
Oh.
That's your mic's not on.
sorry. Okay.
President Shamas, your mic's not on. It's okay.
Is there anything anybody wants to suggest?
I would just also say self-reflection on what you say as a whole, and I'll look at everybody.
Well, and here I am pulling consent items, so I'm guilty of making things take longer, but
I think we all are.
I'm
That's
not
the
going to
thing.
stop doing it. So
Yeah.
I guess I can,
Okay.
yeah.
No, I like it.
folks.
I like it because look, it's the only time that we have to do school business. And I think that's the way you got to look at it. Like, yeah, the meetings are long, but we don't have a lot of time devoted to school business. And so they're going to run a little bit long, and it's important to get you to be able to say what you're, concerned about, or it's important. I don't have a problem with it, but
I'll give a secondary comment though, and that is, do you think in your days of meetings running to 1 a.m., do you think you were making as sound a decision at 12 a.m. as you were at 8? So I think the problem is the later you go, the less attention you're able to pay just because of.
You're tired. Yeah.
So that's my concern with it. as
yeah,
well.
yeah, that's why we put in the 10, because we had a board member who was coming from work and she was just getting like grouchier and grouchier. And then she finally said, so then we realized like, okay, we have to do something. And that's when we instituted the 10 o'clock stop with just one extension. And after that, it was okay.
So that's why I would just say, I think if
Yeah.
we all try to be more concise, I think it would be in the good interest of everyone involved without hopefully limiting our
Yeah,
ability to
of
do.
course.
Like everything that we've said all throughout tonight, like there's a yes and or whatever, but like the pulling of the transportation stuff, I think that set of eyes and kind of that focus is good for, well, it's got me thinking, like I emailed Superintendent Adamson about like, should this form be redesigned? And it'll put more focus on the staff to get it in early. Like, I think kind of highlighting it and bringing up like the things that may have been glossed over in the past are good. So like there's a very real concrete benefit of pulling things. It's just, I think sometimes, and not very recently, but I think like there were like a few presentations, a few like giant presentations from staff on top of that, and that was when I felt like, yeah, these presentations or like the decisions aren't being made best, and the wherewithal of the audience just diminishes, it goes down.
Yeah, and I think that, I mean, I don't know, Lewis might be the one to, because I don't have it on my computer, but to watch the people slowly just dropping off the meeting as it gets later and later, because most of these, everyone's got, well, not everybody, but people have kids, and that, they've got to get up for work in the morning. And if their item has gotten pushed and pushed and pushed, which is not happening so much anymore because the agenda is now like organized much better. But that's the thing that I think about too, is community. And I will say, as far as the consent items go, and this is probably, I shouldn't be saying it out loud, but I'm going to. But I don't ask prior to it to get it corrected, because I think it's something that needs to come out at the dais so that everyone is hearing that there's someone looking at these and you're taking our kids out of the county or overnight. It needs to be filled out correctly. And so that's why I don't take care of it beforehand. And I feel like it's getting better. It's gotten a lot better, because then I don't know if that's why, but I do agree that the form could be changed, but that's not for here.
And we've made some adjustments
I
as a
saw
result of
whatever
that.
Yeah, it
was
looks like
there
a
is
cleaner
different.
copy.
It's
Yeah,
different.
so, I mean,
Yeah.
as a result of that input and feedback, and I think, even if it is pointed out ahead of time and we are able to have a chance to correct it, you still as a board member have the opportunity at that time to say, I called this out and thank you, in advance for making the correction, so it's a balance of it, but just know, yeah, I mean, as a result of identifying some of those, we've been able to improve the systems, which is great.
Well, and I also
It's helpful.
want the community and parents to know that there's somebody looking at that.
Yeah.
And that if it's not filled out correctly, that there's someone that's seeing it and pulling it out and calling it out. So I'm good.
On the facilities adequacy for staff and the public, everybody was fine with that. So unless there's didn't make it a 5, but you. Oh. The meeting's running efficiently. Are people calling the superintendent with questions in advance in order to get answers to consolidate the time? There was.
Yes, we have a system for that now, and I think works well.
I think there's the realities of life get in the way though, so much of it. And I don't think there's an easy solution, but.
You mean, to get questions in time.
Exactly. For everything to line up, it means that we have to have, things come in the right time Friday, and we happen to have the time on the weekend, just for everything to line up. And I think, again, that's just human.
But I think the option or that.
The structure is very good.
Yeah.
Making it happen. I agree.
Is there anybody who wants to suggest any changes on that? Hearing none. There was a little concern about the respect board members show each other.
It can get a little testy, but I don't mind it.
I'll second that. That's a great way to put it. Yeah, that's fine. We are.
We're voting.
Yeah.
Yay.
Would you make any changes in that?
But I'll just
Well,
say.
I was just gonna say that, I mean, our norms are, to treat each other well, and I mean, I think that that we can point that out if we feel someone's being a little, testy.
Yeah, and it's not personal when we do that.
No,
And the
no.
same, I would say, like, everybody here, I mean, we all are here for a reason, and we all have the same common goal. But we all have differences in opinions, even if the opinions
Yeah.
are wrong and stupid, like some of us. That was a joke.
Thanks for looking at me.
I looked around, I would look at myself. There's just two of you here and
felt
one
it.
there. I didn't want to.
No, I don't, I think people, that are watching us are, if they're, because we were getting some feedback like that. And I think it's, I think that's a little over the top because, I mean, we're normal, we're working together. People are going to have disagreements, maybe, they've taken things the wrong way. It's just, I mean, I just don't take that serious. I mean, I don't feel like we are at a point where no one can talk to each other. So I'm okay. I'm okay with it. But I mean, I'm kind of surprised what people get oh, they'll roll their eyes at me like, what? It's okay. Like, not offended.
Is there a feeling about staff? Is it any different that staff is not treated with respect consistently? Yeah,
I would go back to just the same thing about the appearance. I don't think there's ever an intent. I think with folks on the board, I think every single one of us means the best with that. But I think there's times where we do things or say things that can be they get interpreted that way. And that I was not the two, I don't think, but that would be my interpretation. Right, because there's the intent versus impact, or the
Yeah.
intent versus interpretation, and I think that's where the difficulty is.
yeah. But okay. Okay. Is it anything, Elliot, that you feel the board needs to address?
I would say just it's the same, the classic do unto others type rule, right?
Okay.
It's just like, even if you think someone's coming at something for the wrong reason or whatever, it's just like, again, they're entitled to their stupid wrong opinions as much as you are. Or their good opinions. I'm saying with humor.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's
Yes.
the point is, again, everyone has, there's another quote I could use that I won't about opinion. Everyone has them, I'll just say.
There's a feeling that all board members don't understand how to put things on the agenda.
I just love that you're doing because it's board members treat staff in public with respect. You're about to get like 50 emails. Okay, moving on.
Okay. How about understanding procedures for placing items on the agenda? There was
Wait,
some-
sorry, can I
Oh,
go back to this?
yeah,
last
yeah,
one real quick?
definitely.
Like, I think the intent and impact difference between if we're like persnickety or like having a discussion is like there's definitely a power imbalance with staff. And like that feels like when Trustee Shamos says, "You are so dumb to me," I'm like, oh no. You no. But like a teacher or someone in the district, it's like it's not a fair, it's not always, it's just a weird power imbalance, and that feels, or that would feel unfair. I think.
And this is one in the past, I know we've said, I would love to get staff to answer
I was
that
just thinking
question.
the same thing.
Like,
Yeah,
there's not all these questions, but that's one I'd love to hear from
that'd be
staff.
interesting.
To hear, do they feel like the board is disrespectfful?
Disrespectful.
And it doesn't have to be named, but I think that would be a lot more powerful than us saying it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, because
Yeah.
And you're talking about when we're at a meeting, not,
I was
Not
gonna clarify
just-
that too. I wondered if you were
Or
talking about
anytime.
specifically
think that's a
at the
great
dais or
question.
Yeah.
outside of.
I mean, I think it goes both. I mean, I think you could actually have that
I
differentiation
was
be
talking
useful.
about that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry. I mean, like, I was
At
speaking
specifically
the
at
dais
meetings.
and
Because you're okay being rude to them in person.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
There we go.
Jokes fine.
Okay.
Should have a sign.
something,
Like LOL.
Applause.
Okay. We're making progress.
Louis cringing.
We're
He's waiting for the emails to start coming.
Yeah.
The lawsuits are gonna come rolling in, Lou.
Okay. All board members understand the procedures for placing things on the agenda. That one person felt that may not be the case.
It was probably me. I'm just confused in general.
An issue to address or not? Do you want a lesson on that?
No, I mean, no, it's
Because all board members can raise the issue at a board meeting. and saying, and this isn't something I'd like to have on a future agenda.
And we have the website where we can put in agenda items. too, where
Yeah.
I'm still okay with my email the
Okay.
assistant too and say, hey, this is something I'd like to consider. CC Linda. All options, but yeah. But it doesn't always make it onto the agenda. That's the tricky thing, but that's another part of the fun process.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, number 20 seemed to be fine. Everybody was good with that. Number 21, there was one who felt that the board on behalf of the community considers its most important job to be setting a clear direction for the district, and there was a concern about that. Anything we want to discuss and bring up? Concern?
I don't know if I was the 3 or the 1, or honestly the 4. I don't think so. But I do think, again, the clarity. I know this is ironic from a true mumbler and tangent maker, but the clarity of what we're doing and why we're doing, I think, is not always there. And I think, that's a focus of all of our. This is so ironic. This is a focus for us. So Beth, take it over.
Well, I was another 5 on that one,
Uh-huh.
but just because I thought it was kind of a vague statement.
Mhm.
So I'm really judging our intent, maybe more than our actual performance in that. But I do think that if we feel that we're not setting clear goals, then that is something when we sit down with the superintendent, that we have to address. Like we talked a little bit about this, but just, and it is a fair question about how clear you're being, because it can be too visionary and not enough, doable, relatable type of goal.
Or too bureaucratic too. I
Yeah,
think,
yeah.
the language of
Yes,
local
yes.
government is
Yeah.
not always clear.
All right. Moving on to 22, the board is open and engaged in two-way conversations with the community, gathering information that enables it to speak on behalf of the community and provide educational leadership for the community. There was one who just simply didn't have enough information, but everybody else seemed to. Is that something we want to discuss? You want to discuss?
Yes, that was me. It was a
Yes.
0. So some of this goes to the way that boards operate just in general. Thank you for your comment, that kind of thing. Some of it goes back to the community sending in emails with items of concern or a group of people that are concerned about something, and it never quite goes anywhere. So I feel like we have the idea that we want to be engaged with a community. But I don't know that that's actually happening. I don't truly feel that when the community is speaking up about something that's important to them, that action's being taken based off of that. I think that if there's something already in motion, that the district will continue to keep it in motion as it sees fit. And it's difficult at times sitting up there and kind of watching it happening and knowing that the community is trying to engage with us and trying to engage and let their opinions be known. And they're receiving an email that's thank you for your email or some variation of that. So no, I don't I know we're talking about the board, but it's also the district, because as individual board members, we really kind of can't engage in two-way conversations with a community because we can't speak on behalf of the board. And me giving my opinion about something is it goes back to what we were talking about earlier about, the board has to be one. So this question is interesting because it's, we're limited in what we can say as a board. But at the same time, representing the district, I feel like community could be heard a little more clearly. And I think that their voice is lost sometimes in the decision-making process.
How would you change that, Laura?
You know, it's hard to say. I think trying to engage community earlier. I think really reflecting when we get feedback from the community, reflecting in a way that shows that we're hearing them so that it's seen in policies and decision making, as opposed to just, yeah, we heard you. I don't know. It would have to be reflected in the decisions that are being the items that are coming forward to us, and then in the decisions that are being made. So we have to take that as board members as well. If we're getting feedback from the community, how we got here. It's taxpayers, we're elected officials, and we can have opinions about things, but if the community is saying something loudly, we have an obligation to listen. I don't think that we always do that. I think we could do a much better job.
I think like I'm guessing I did a 3. Like the two-way conversations is like a sticky subject because, if I'm at one of my kids' schools and a staff member is saying something like, I don't want to give the appearance of like favoring or like singling out that one concern. So I feel like I haven't found the balance, or I don't exactly know how to do it. But the other part is when we're speaking to parents, I guess, or other family members, I think before a vote has been made, I think it makes sense to voice our opinion, to give the community like how we individually are thinking. I think that's like slightly different than a retro, something that we've voted on, I guess. That being said, I haven't really shared like my personal opinions with too many parents about something that's coming up, but it's just tricky, I guess, with the two-way conversation.
It really is.
We should separate out, your board meetings are not town hall meetings. That's a completely different operation. You're there to make decisions, receive input, but not necessarily, it's not a press conference, it's not a town hall meeting. There are some issues that are extremely important and sensitive to the community where you may want to have a town hall meeting on to get input before you may have a board meeting where you make decisions.
Can I just?
Yeah.
But even after having those town hall meetings, if the community is feeling still unheard, like, is the district really moving the needle based off of what the community is presenting? And that's what I'm talking about, is that the community may show up to something or may send a ton of emails about one thing, and the decision still continues as the decision was going to continue, or not the decision, but the, I guess the decision.
Yeah.
So nothing has been moved. The needle has not been moved by community input. And I would like to see that change. I think that the fact that we live in a community that's so engaged and is willing to engage and is willing to reach out and actually want to be part of the decisions that are made, I think we're really lucky. And I think that we could do a better job of embracing that and supporting it. And the way we support it is to actually let the needle move, as opposed to just collecting the information and saying, thank you for coming and thank you for your input. And then that's where it ends.
So I have a thought on this, because I mean, this might be one where there is a growth area. Just think about what are the best practices for town halls? Like, what could we be, and I think it's whether it's the timing, like, because I think some of it's difficult. Like, we're doing a town hall a week before we make a decision. It's going to be hard to right. The school district is a train, and it's really hard to make a 90-degree turn on a train. And so it's just figuring out how do we do that. And I think that's something we could try to take on, is how do we make them more
earlier? It needs to be well in advance, especially the large decisions. It's got to be well in advance so that we can, and maybe there's a few of them, and then we can take all of the information. And if of course, there's going to be people that show up to all of them and voice their same opinion. Does that count as 3? No. But, I just.
And this is one I honestly don't have an answer to. Like, what's the right balance of like presentation versus input? Like, I mean, do we want to do 2/3 presentation, 1/3 input? Like, whether like these are the kind of things which, again, I'm sure there's folks out there or groups out there that could talk about, hey, these town halls, this is what's working well for us and what hasn't. But I don't have a good answer.
Or even partial presentation followed by input, then breaking the presentation up so that it's palatable and people can process as they're hearing it and give feedback. I don't know, but I know that I couldn't, I'm the 0. I'm fine to admit that, or to say that out loud.
I think like the phrasing of this question, like the board is open to engage two-way conversations, and then the suggestion about the town hall is also tricky because when we've done these community forums, it's still been very much the district presenting. And so like the amount of how much we're leading the discussion seems like, I don't want to micromanage. And there's, it's again at the balance of like representing the district, but I guess to be able to speak our own individual views, I guess, in a public forum outside of the board meeting or something that is completely organized by district staff is something that I haven't felt empowered or would be really proper. I don't know if it would be proper or improper.
And when you have a town hall meeting and you have a majority of the board there, it's a board meeting. So, but how you structure it, it's a board meeting in the sense of the Brown Act, and you have to give the appropriate notice and you have to have the agenda and that sort of thing. But it is more of an opportunity for community comment, staff presentations, community comment on it, rather than decision making.
Yeah, it's not even decision making, it's opinion voicing and intake, I guess, from the community. Like if Trustee Otmar wanted to have a talk about allergens in the food, and this is what I'm thinking, this is my experience with my sons, this is why it's important, and to kind of solicit feedback from her position about other families' experiences. I think that's way different than the district presenting.
Mm-hmm.
And it could still be in public. I mean, I guess there could be an agenda about, what your concerns are.
At the same time, I don't think it would be appropriate as a board member. I could go out and do that as Laura Otmar, like mom of 2 boys, citizen of Pacific Grove. But going out as saying like, I am a trustee and I am going to talk about allergens, because at that point now I'm representing the board. Right? As soon as I identify myself as a trustee, my opinion or everything I say, I'm representing this entire board. And I can't go out and that would be inappropriate for me to do that.
Is that how it works?
It's technically no, practically yes.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's appearance.
Because
it's the
it's an
appearance.
Yeah, it's
like if
absolutely
I walk into a conference with a teacher and I say, hi, I'm here, Trustee Otmar reporting, whatever, and who would do that? But I'm just saying, it's like, but it's the appearance. It's the appearance of, I may not be representing the board, but I've just informed you that I am a trustee on the school board.
Yeah.
And little gross, but it's
Yeah.
So this question's super difficult. And the way I think I interpreted it was more of, because we can't really engage in effective 2-way conversation. It's difficult without giving, as a trustee, without giving my opinion and representing the board in that opinion. It's just, it's messy. So I interpret it as district and then in turn, the board decision-making.
I guess this question's a little broader too, because it could be, are you open to people coming to you and expressing their views about the district? And how do you
Oh, it
react
happens
to
a lot,
individual?
but
Yeah,
yeah.
I imagine it would.
Yeah.
I imagine it would happen in the supermarket parking lot or in the aisles or at a restaurant or wherever. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think in that arena, I operate out of a lot of fear because when maybe when I was starting or something, I don't want to get involved with an employee's conflict with a parent or something that's not our purview. That's principles and everything. But also, I still want to hear about a family's experience of what's happening to them. So it is that balance of like, I want to hear you out, but I don't want to represent or make promises about what the board is saying.
Yeah, so that's the piece of the two-way conversation.
Yeah.
That's sort of like, it really is one-sided and you can, I mean, I listen and I say, okay, I hear you. I hear you. And I'm so glad you're talking about this. Like, it's important that you're talking about it. You might, you should reach out to, and I'll say you should reach out to the superintendent or make sure that you're reaching out to the principal, whatever, whoever the next person in line is. Kind of all you can do is
And-
give them the resource, but that's not a two-way conversation.
No.
And it doesn't feel very satisfying if you're a disgruntled or.
I just say so just about the town hall meeting, in the community forums, whichever we call them. But I think the value about those is it does, versus a board meeting, you've got someone who comes up, it's public comment, there's no chance. That's the awkwardness we talk about, right? I think what I love about the community forum piece of the town hall is that ability to, yes, engage and answer questions and have that's the two-way dialogue I see it as. I think it's also an opportunity to provide and answer more questions. I think at our last one, we may not have, been able to, address and there may still be that feeling if we went ahead with a decision anyway about the reductions, but so many people came forward at the end, just saying how informative that was. They had, one understanding or version, of how things worked, and that, at the end of that, because of the question and answering session, they were able to walk away with a different understanding. So I think that's how we should approach it. But I think absolutely, what we want to do next year is have those well in advance, right, before we even get to, the final decision-making piece, because there is value to that, right?
One quick thought on that is, I was thinking, because the thing that is hard is for all of us to be there too. And I think that's part of the goal of the governance team would be if we, maybe we do it instead of a special meeting, which we realize we're not getting to as many agenda items, but when it's an important issue. And again, that's kind of what when we had the budget study session, but I think maybe that could have been a town hall. So we do it in a way that all the board members can be there on a normal Thursday every 2-week schedule, where the board members can also be part of that dialogue. Because I think that's the tough part, is that it's hard for all of us to be at these community forums, particularly when we are putting so much effort into doing them. And so that's something just to think about, one of these, exploration ideas.
What does that look like as far as, so if we're all in attendance and it's a board meeting, then it's agendized.
It's agendized, it's noticed.
And then as far as the back and forth goes or the conversations, this is what, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So this is where I'm thinking that, yeah, I can see it unraveling really quickly because, there's
potential for that, but there's, I think, also potential for a lot of growth. I mean, yeah, that's scary.
And you also have the potential for one group or one person to dominate it. And you'd want to be able to manage
Facilitate it properly, yeah.
Yeah, so you get all information from everybody. And I think you made a point, Elliot, that should not be lost. And that is, you don't always know how many people agree with the speaker, and how many people are silent on that issue or think quite differently and just aren't there. So it's going to be your responsibility to weigh that information that you get and see how important it is in your decision making, whether you happen to agree with the opinion or not.
At the last meeting at the library, you were in person, right? And Jen was there, and then I was online. So would that technically be a board meeting?
If you had.
This is the cudgel of the Brown Act. I don't.
Stay for an hour, I think, right? That was only pointed out afterwards, and
Well, I didn't say anything either, but I mean, that's it.
difficult. This is the difficulty.
Yeah, it's,
That's a Brown Act.
It's not easy. Yeah.
yeah.
But that's another reason why it makes sense if there's a way to do it as part of our special meeting. I mean, again,
Yeah.
just thinking of a way,
Linda's sweating.
I know.
Are you sweating?
Let's say, I mean, I would love to just, can we park this as like, let's come up with some creative ideas and maybe we end up right in the same place
Yeah.
we started, but at least that gives us rather, yeah, because I think that's what,
I think it's a nice idea, but I'm glad we're talking about it. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, 23.
No, 'cause they're not talking.
it's an appearance potentially, but as long as,
No, if you don't talk to each other and you don't talk,
Yeah, so we,
you can't even get up and talk as an individual as opposed to with each other.
But if three are in the room, it's considered a board meeting. If
Oh.
they're all attending the same meeting, it is a board meeting,
If they don't talk at all,
but they're
No,
in attendance.
we can all go to the middle school anti-bullying awareness thing and it not be a board meeting, as long as we're not.
you're not talking.
Okay.
So I think we could even be in attendance in theory. Again, if we were all sitting maybe at a table with name tags, that would be different than if Beth's in the audience, because she could be attending as a grandparent, right? She has the right to do that. We don't have to like vote on who gets
You
to
don't
attend.
speak on the issue.
but I mean, again, all the hypotheticals. If we go to Beetlejuice at the middle school,
No,
Social events don't
Social.
count, right?
social.
Right. their events don't count. And you can have a backyard barbecue and have all 5 board members there. It's not as long as you don't talk about school business. Appearance is a different issue. It's not it's not a legal violation of Brown Act. As long as you didn't talk about anything that pertains to the school. Anything within the jurisdiction of the school.
But at Beetlejuice, you're commenting on the musical.
Are you commenting or just observing it?
You're fine. It's okay,
Okay,
as long as it's not, is it a matter that's up again?
I didn't even see
board?
it.
Tells me you're not gonna violate the Brown Act.
yeah,
You're
okay.
fine.
Do we need a 5 minute just to?
Good.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Can I say one on 23? Just a quick
Yeah.
one, just to push, is
Yeah.
the one here, this to me, and I don't know, again, I'll stop saying I don't know which number I am, because see, this is me doing exactly what I said. It's here. I think this is are we putting out fires or are we setting a vision? That is to me, one of my biggest challenges I have as a board member. Is I feel like we're often putting out fires or doing the procedural things and we're not providing the clear vision because there was some fire we had to put out. So that's the one that I worry the most about is, are we still moving in are we helping move in the right uniform?
Mhm. Some fires have to be put out. Or they destroy things if they, okay. But you should always have time for setting clear agendas and goals for the district.
Yeah, I mean, the goals we set for the superintendent is the goals for the district, basically. So if you feel that maybe we're not verbally affirming that enough, so, we know what they are, but we're not communicating it enough to the public. I'm not sure.
No, to me, it's more, what if 10 parents come to us and they're worried because all the teachers are wearing sneakers instead of dress shoes now? And do we potentially as a board be like, wow, we got 10 teachers coming to us, we need to consider this and put it as a future agenda item. Not saying we always do that, but again, it's just that there are going to be these shiny, important objects along the way.
Yeah.
But is that, if we're trying to, again, it's like, are we trying to have more concise, focused board meetings? Do we put all those things on versus not? That's more what I'm thinking of, is how do we make sure the things on our agenda are part of our district goals, not, and again, it gets back to that community engagement, right? Like, are we ignoring the community if we don't put on the dress shoes versus sneakers debate?
You take a vote?
I mean, I think again, there's a balance of agendas and everything, but maybe if there was every month like a discussion item about a long-term future thing that really doesn't have a presentation, but that we just wanted to talk about,
23.
that would be more proactive or offensive than playing defense. You
And
know?
and that we have had that in the past where there's just an item that we just want to discuss. That we're not, I mean, like, it's not something we're having a presentation, but it's like, this is something that's come up enough. And I mean, that is maybe something we want to consider again.
What would you change?
I like that idea of the discussion, especially the forward looking. I think again, it would just, to me, it would be a challenge on everybody on the board and the district office are the decisions we're making moving us towards the vision, or are we going down a road less traveled that might get us on a different path? And I think that's just something I try to do whenever I'm sitting there is this the way we want to be going, or are we doing a side, which is might be an important side quest, but is that what the focus should be? I think that's just an internal thing, not a board thing, but for each of us.
Good point. 24, board superintendent and staff have developed clear, attainable, and measurable goals that move the district forward towards achieving. This is sort of right what you're talking about. And there's somebody who felt that you're not doing that. Is this an agenda setting item? Are we talking about the important things? Where we're going, how we're doing?
I don't know if I was the two, but I think it's again a communication packaging thing of not just re-saying the slogans, but really knowing what I don't know if parents could say what the measurable goals of the district are right now, or what a big kind of focus of where we're really working on STEM or CTE, like from K through 12, we want everyone to be a chef, or to really build up their CTE skills. I mean, to have that kind of planning or organization would be nice in a way to kind of reference.
24 and 25 are kind of aligned, aren't they? The same thing.
Don't feel the LCAP, the goals, the 4 goals are clear enough.
I think that's
Not
like a
enough of that.
prejudice of me and just like zoning out on like
Well, the fact
government
that you
speak.
don't know them, right, maybe just says that we're not doing a good enough job of putting that out there on what our 4 goals are, right, and simplifying them enough, right? I mean,
Yeah, I
the
think,
board goals are also based on that as well, so it's
and I think
better. Yeah.
we've seen LCAP presentations, but like having the everyday language without LCAP,
Like removing the acronym so everybody really
Yeah.
knows what it means.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that is a common, that's a challenge, right? I think that all districts face, and it's always about, I mean, even our goals, I mean, the whole purpose of it, we simplified it to one page, so it could be, more digestible and memorable, and, clearly we can do better with that. I think, like, I think even it starts with us as a governance team being able to kind of know them and have them in front of us maybe regularly. There's that component of even every time everything that's on the agenda should really, we could even get into the habit of even referencing, what that LCAP goal is, that this speaks to, right? And it ties back to. So,
Well,
that is the plan that directs the whole district forward, right? I mean,
Yeah. And I'm just looking at, I remember when the board put this together on every sheet with, so that if you're looking at a particular agenda item, it's checked, like what is this coming under? What is the titling of this particular item? And that it may not say that's the goal, but at least it gives the non-board person a focus to see where this particular item falls under,
And again, this is a big load for staff and not feasible, but like if that information, if those checkboxes were more like in a database and could be filtered and searched, like what are the 4 checkboxes?
Credibility and communication.
Okay, so like if you could go on the website and search
Credibility,
credibility
communication.
items and like everything would pull up, it would just be so much more user friendly. And like I've been thinking about this because of hearing about so many people or families switch one kid to private school or something, like really treating families as customers because they are, and like delivering the best service. It just, I feel like that would be, as a parent, a dream, to like have everything at my fingertips. This is probably largely influenced by AI too, and just having everything at your fingertips. But it'd be nice, and instead of making us or families work, or kind of go through hundreds of pages of PDFs.
There are some districts that post their LCAP goals in their boardroom, just to
Yeah.
remind themselves when they're making decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. 26 is board engaging the community and securing support and resources.
I'll say we've started, that's one I would like, we're starting to do a lot better on that. I really liked some of our discussions about the 5-year budget plan, for example, on that. I think that's a great example of where we could do that, but I think there's kind of is a partnership in that way.
Anybody else want to speak to that?
Well, I mean, again, it's also a challenge of the two-way conversation. Like, to secure support, you have to have dialogue. And so if we're all like nervous about misrepresenting the district or violating the Brown Act, even though no one's been charged, apparently,
Or
ever.
accused or even expected.
Yeah, it's just this cloud that could be raised and, freaks everyone out, which I guess is maybe doing its job. But anyways, I think that's the challenge.
But I'll bring up a positive. I remember it was Mike Gibbs came in front of us and brought up, why don't we have a foundation that supports the schools? And we now have that as part of our 5-year plan. So that is an example where a public comment filters its way through, and it's not efficient always because of it. But that's exactly that's what I mean. That was the example to me that's like very circular. And again, if the discussion about parcel tax too, that's come up, like we're going to at least explore that and have a discussion because people brought it up. And that's to me and not just explore it because we're not doing it like again, but we're putting it within the goal of the 5-year plan of the budget. So it's like, again, it's united towards the goal of what we want to achieve, which is fiscal solvency. But we are allowing for exploration for things we got from the public. So yeah, I agree. It would be nice if there was that opportunity for the two-way.
I think 27 is related to the same thing. It's really securing community support to support your are achieving your vision, mission, and goals, which you need to communicate clearly to the public so they can get behind it. Yeah. 28, there was pretty much agreement that you're doing that. 29, the same. 30, there was pretty much unanimity. But 31, there was concern on 31. Prior to adopting policy, the board requires input from the affected parties, superintendent, the staff, the community. This goes to the area that we've addressed earlier.
That was my 0, and it relates back to the 0 that was earlier with community engagement. So
Okay, have we covered that sufficiently? Okay.
That horse is dead. Yeah, that's good.
32, board ensures each policy is written as clearly as possible so that it can support the superintendent in her reasonable interpretation. There was one that was not.
Can we just blame Jen for that since she's not here? I'm just kidding. Love you, Jen.
Okay, all right. Do you want to speak to it, Mike, or are you good?
No, again, it's my prejudice about policy language.
33, you're good with that. Monitoring policies, effective implementation, compliance. 34, there was definitely concern. The majority of the board felt this was not adequately done. It's the ensures the development of long-range fiscal forecasts based on clearly identified assumptions and rationale. So you gave yourself some pretty low marks on that one.
But I think some of that's also tied to the fact of a basic aid district. I mean, the fact that we're doing, layoff notices, we're doing those before we even have a budget. And we're not getting our budget in a clear chunk. We get it as the tax receipts come in. So it makes it really hard. I think it can be really difficult to have those appropriate fiscal forecasts. That said, I will also say I think we're starting again to do better, because I think a lot of times it feels like we're doing everything we can, and then the winds blow a little differently, and the fiscal forecast is not as positive as it was last year. But again, I think the 5-year planning is exactly the direction that at least I wanted to see us go. And I'm speaking of myself, not as the board there.
Is there anything anybody wants to change in what you're doing to improve on 34?
I mean, we're starting on this too, but like more ideas just in terms of revenue. Because I think the partial tax, if it's for second homes or something, is fine, but just banking on taxes is so unhelpful for families and everything. So I would just want more imagination with ideas, I guess. Yeah.
Well, maybe a better format for people to deliver ideas as they come up. Because really, we know the money we're going to get. I mean, we can look to our history and we know. And so if it's not enough money for what we want, and then we have to look at, how do we increase revenue? There's different ways to go about that, but we could always have a format for people that come up with a foundation or whatever to submit ideas. But I think it's hard to, I don't see that as something that we can depend on as far as a 5-year plan. I mean, it's just, those are small increments. I mean, that you're going out for taxes because those are bigger. Those are more permanent. They last,
Yeah, I mean, I feel less certain about kind of like just the upward trajectory of real estate, and like the closing of Middlebury here. Like, we are so small, and so like a few things closing could potentially affect our economy and thus the taxes. That building up the reserve and just having less dependency, even if it's 5% help, can just serve as a buffer, in my opinion.
I would agree. I mean, my thing, again, without getting into board policy too much, is we should have a goal of not having a tram. Might not be a very realistic goal, but that should be our goal. So that we're not borrowing, we're basically just have a large enough reserve that we never need to do a tram. That would be doing 34, in my opinion. But again, it's how we get there is the hard answer. And it's not going to be easy decisions to get there, because it's probably not all going to be revenue either. But that's to me where the issue comes is, and again, it's part of it's the designation of a board, right? We get all 5 of us, we might be all on the same page that let's get away with the trend. And then 2 years later, myself, or in a few months, myself and Laura get voted out. And then these people are like, no, we need more, whatever. And then we go away from them. And that's the
the way
reality.
it goes.
Exactly.
And
Unless we write it in as the norms and
but
policies.
that's what I'm saying. Like, every board has to look at the past that, that district has been through. And, our big change was becoming a basic aid district. So, before that, we were very poor, very, very poor. So, you know, that's what we know, that's what we count on now, and that's the majority of our revenue. The rest is, you know, when we go out for bonds, you know, that's adjunct to helping us do other things but yeah, so I think I really like, you know, when we're doing a 5-year plan, I like looking back to see what was working well and, you know, and where we started to go off the rails a little. Because I was just looking at I found this from 2019 was, maybe I didn't bring it up here with me, but anyway, just listed in 2015, you know what our reserve was? 17%. How is it from 2015 to now that we're at 6% or whatever?
Don't remember the lessons from the past. You're doomed to repeat it, right? And that's
Well,
the definition of
it just
yeah.
goes to show you, like, you know, you have different boards that come in and, you know, and then we had a couple of different superintendents of business. So then they have, you know, but the board and the superintendents, you know, start to shape what happens. And then of course, COVID, but anyway, just
Yeah.
looking at that historical data is real, you know, and then you have to project from that.
Sure. 35 is whether your annual budget expresses your district policies and your priority. There's somebody feels that it's sorely lacking in some major area of change.
It just goes back the same way that we often inherit, right? We're inheriting a lot of it. It's not necessarily what this board might have voted on, if that makes sense.
Well, that can happen, yeah. But I think basically that's always your budget is your priorities. That's what you see in your budget. When you see an emphasis on counseling, that was your priority. And you made it, and different boards made it work, whatever, but that's what they did.
Whoever feels that this needs major improvement, what changes would you make? Or is it something?
I don't think that's
Okay.
just joking.
Okay.
We don't know whether it's blame Jen, yeah.
Okay.
But again, I think it's probably, okay, I'll give one last comment on this from my perspective is that there are often conflicts of priorities. For example, the kids and financial solvency. And so I think I could see, I again, don't think I was the one, but I could see that being a reason why someone would say that because we don't always meet both those goals. We can't always meet both those goals.
Okay. And lastly, the district financial report and audits provide board members with a clear understanding of the district's financial health. And one person did not feel that was the case. Does anybody want to speak to that? No? Okay. All right. Well, we have a couple on the next two items were marked kind of low. District has found proper balance among competing claims, fiscal responsibility, responsiveness, community, and meeting the needs of all students. The board maintains a reasonable financial reserve. It's pretty unanimous that you don't feel you maintain a reasonable. There's only one who feels that you do.
No, that was probably me. That was probably me.
Looking at 37 and 38 combined. They combined the two.
That's an optimist.
I just feel that it's not optimal maybe right now, but I mean, it's not, I don't feel that we're in that dire a situation, but and if we have a goal of 10% reserve, I'm okay with a goal, but I don't want to make some kind of an adjustment that just to get us to a 10% versus 9.5.
Right.
That's how I feel.
I agree with that very much. I think for 37, Elliot's what you were just talking about is I don't think we have found the balance between fiscal responsibility and community responsiveness and meeting the needs of all of our students. I mean, what district has, I'm not sure if there's one we can look at and say like they've done it. So, I mean, it's such a tough balance. I don't know.
Well,
Yeah.
the key there is the word all students. Of course, we haven't met the needs of all students.
But we
I
could
mean,
do
I
it.
think that's
We could do a better job of meeting
okay.
the
Well,
needs of, yeah.
better attempts, but I
Yeah.
don't know if we could ever put in balance all of those things. That's pretty.
Well, I think just structurally because of government, the responsiveness is also just really
Mhm.
hard, and
Yeah.
the budget's being approved a year in advance. I mean,
Mm.
All three of these are almost inachievable. I mean, fiscal responsibility, yes, but again, we can't be fully responsive to the community because of what we're talking about. We can't meet the needs of all students. So I think it's just not, I mean, it would be nice if we could, but that's pretty.
Reserve. There was pretty strong feeling that you don't have an adequate reserve.
Again, something we dealt with as a board.
Well, we all agreed to put together policy on that. So we're all in agreement on that.
Mhm.
I
But now I
think.
want to make it 25%. I mean, personally, but again, I don't think we will. I think that's the goal. I think it'll take us maybe 20, 30 years to get there, but I would love to get to the point where we don't need a train anymore. I'll say that when we talk about that policy, not.
No,
yeah.
the teachers union would love it if you did that.
Okay. Just checking. I was like, really? Maybe I'll call them up and have a two-way conversation.
That's gonna go over really well.
Reserve or a
A
larger?
25% reserve? Oh, yeah.
That means no
No, they'll be
raises.
saying,
probably.
okay, let's
Oh, yeah.
roll out the money.
Yeah,
Let's roll out the money.
yeah.
I mean, I think those moonshot things are good to kind of keep working toward, but like I think you've harped on this mostly about like the not funding things with one-time monies. I think that's I personally will speak for myself. Like I think that's a really smart policy because I could see what has happened, you know. So yeah, I think it's small or smaller things than the 25 or the 20%, but with that directive.
Remember, Prop 13 and before Prop 13 happened, local agencies had enormous reserves. They weren't spending the money. It was accumulating. So the question that oftentimes public agencies have to balance is how much of reserve do we keep and how much do we spend to the benefit of our community?
Totally.
Yes.
And to me, it's
Yeah.
just, but it's about the trend to me, right? It's like, I think of it from like a stock investing perspective. Like I could buy 100% on margin and really be like overextended and hopefully making more money. But it's again, I feel that's the goal is not to hold the reserve so that we're not giving it out, but it's to have the reserve that we're not needing to borrow against it so that we are prepared for any potential downturn or anything like that.
Yeah.
And again, that to me, that's the goal. And there's going to be realities that
And
Big
it's,
sig, et cetera, that we
it's
don't
not
care.
at all unusual for districts that are basic aid to have a 20 or 25% reserve. In fact, I've got one that has a 37% reserve.
Oh, also like the goal, your stated goal of not needing a tran, the closer that we get to that, the smaller the tran. So, I mean, it's still a benefit.
It's true. It's
to
not
the-
black and white.
Yeah.
Um, 30, we'll move to 39. And there's one who felt that there is a lack of trust or respect between the superintendent and the board. Now, I have not seen that, but somebody feels that there is a problem here. So I don't know if anybody wants to speak to that.
Maybe that was a misclick.
Oh, it could have been.
Jen.
Oh,
Jen.
Jen, I hope you know I'm saying this in live. Exactly.
She'll love it. She's, don't watch this.
Maybe she's listening at home.
Yeah.
We're making her sick.
Nothing more soothing during a.
And on the next page, you're pretty much in agreement that you're on track for all of those.
Great. Good job.
Which would take us to 45 and the last page. And 45 is board members are current on legislation and regulations that affect public education. There was some feeling that is not the case.
I think that might have been me, but that was like self-criticism. That's just because the action week, was it you?
I don't know, but I mean, there's so much legislation that's going on.
I tried to follow the CSBA action weeks a little more and do that to
Again.
be more informed, but it's also
So
so
much
difficult.
information.
It is.
It's a lot
Yeah.
of information.
And it's changing all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just when you think you're,
Which is the same as 46.
Yeah.
yeah, I think I might have been a 0 because because just of my schedule can't accommodate a lot. And so that was me, I think.
No,
Just
it was
being-
actually, but it's okay.
It wasn't me?
No,
Oh,
no.
well, it feels like me. All right.
Maybe it was me because
I just feel like I'm not, I
Yeah.
could definitely do a better job of attending, and it's because
There is also a feeling that the workshops conducted are not sufficient for the board, for board development. There's one person who felt. Anybody want to speak to that at all?
Some of them are required by law or like, I mean, like there's aspects like that. I don't think I was a 2, but I mean, it's a very black and white statements. So if it's say board workshops are mostly conducted, then I give it a 5 probably, but are all conducted? You know, it depends how you interpret that.
Okay. And
Well, what are they referring to?
Are we talking
Board,
about governance
yeah, are you
sessions?
talking
Maybe
about
we should be
CSBA? Are you
clearer
talking,
on that,
is
yeah.
that what you're talking about? I wasn't.
Like,
I,
right, one's offered by MCOE or
Yeah.
CSBA.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
I interpreted that to mean this.
do you want more
This is all.
or better?
Yes.
Yes. Better.
Oh, yeah, no, I want better.
Okay.
No, I'm just saying yes.
More and better.
I don't want more
Right.
because I can't.
What does data look like? Maybe let's talk about
Yeah.
that. Yeah, like what would was more like these to offer more of?
I'll-
I mean, for
Not
me,
necessarily more
this is
frequent.
good.
Yeah,
Like
this is great.
Well, this is what I consider workshop.
Also,
So
one person brought up, one of the things was getting training, like some of the training on proficiency and stuff that the staff get, the board members don't always get. So I
Oh,
think that,
yeah.
I don't know if that fits.
Oh, I
fully
said
in
that
here.
about the cultural proficiency.
Yes,
That,
so that would be
yeah.
one that I think could be,
Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
optional, not required.
Okay.
Hmm.
definitely optional.
But I think it's just having, potentially having more opportunity, but then, no, I think these are really useful.
Okay. Good. That is it. There were some comments and I don't want to attribute any comments to anybody. But generally, there's some concern about the Brown Act, which is an obstacle to developing relationships. That is something all public agencies have to live with. So I'm sorry, but you got to do it. There was some expression of concern about board members who might leave the meeting early or not attend without letting the board know. So I don't know if that's something you want to discuss or concerned about or.
Just that it is protocol to notify the board president if you have to leave a meeting early. And so it happened one time that one of the board members had left and we didn't know.
Okay.
So-
Was it a one-off or is it a?
Yeah, it
regular?
was a one-off.
Are you okay with cutting some slack for the one-off? Or is that something, a protocol you want to discuss?
Well, I think it's a good, I think it's a
No,
good
I-
reminder.
Yeah. No, I think we should feel okay about bringing it up and
Yeah.
saying to someone nicely,
Yeah,
like, hey,
yeah.
something.
Just courtesy.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a little concern that well, obviously there was more than one expression of concern about the Brown Act being an obstacle to developing relationships and decision making, et cetera. There is some concern about the potential or possibility of some board members putting ego before the board. I don't know if that's an issue that we want to talk about. There was some expression of concern about one-on-one meetings with the superintendent. Is that something we want to,
Like not having enough.
having too many?
Oh.
Anything, anybody?
No, but I do think that that's something that in my past that is always, there's always a checking it out with other board members, like if one board member is meeting with the superintendent maybe more frequently than others. So there's always that, like, oh, well, what are they talking about? And am I missing out on something, or how come I'm not? So, but I think Linda's been very good about, doing the one-on-ones and publicizing it. Today I'm meeting with one-on-one with Mike. Tomorrow, one-on-one with Beth. So I like that. I mean, I never had a superintendent that did that before. So, but I do believe that that's a good thing to do because it's interesting. I've seen it happen before where there's some mild jealousies that come in or feelings of being left out, so I didn't write that, but that's what I know about it.
Yeah, I just think it has, like we said earlier, has the potential to develop power imbalances. And some of that's natural by the president's always going to have more information because they're setting agenda, et cetera. But I think it's just, again, a goal for the board, a goal for the governance team to figure out how to help equalize those power balances. But again, I think Beth's point, you're doing so much of that. The other one I'd add is you're putting things in the trustee questions or update if they come up. So if I were to bring up issue X, you make sure that is available for other trustees to read.
Yeah, that's good. That's very helpful, I think, for the board to feel all on the same foot, same equality.
The other thing I would touch on here, and I mean, it's, I guess, a little parallel, is it goes back to the Brown Act one too, is like, I have made it a process. I will talk with, and I think I've talked with almost everybody. I'm pretty sure I've talked with everybody on the board, but I will make sure, like, I talked with you, Beth, about an item today, and I said, hey, you're the only one I want to talk to about this, just so you know, to make sure it's like very clear this is not Brown Act, but it's something we both expressed an interest in the past. So, so I think that's something I would encourage. I think is actually useful if done carefully on specific agenda items. Would encourage us all to do is just reach out to those one-on-one and say, hey, are you talking to anyone about this? Or I'm only going to talk to you about this, I should say. And I know it risks a foul, but it's also that development of personal relationships, because I think it is, things that are important to know, where people, who they are as a person, not just who they are behind the dais.
Yeah, I think that's important too, because we have such a limited amount of being able to talk with one another, that if we do know that another board member is interested in the same thing, that, we maybe have that discussion with that one board member. But also, like what Ellie and I were talking about, is like, okay, we want to bring this to the board. So it's not like there's something we want to talk about and just keep it between us. It was just bouncing off some ideas and then at the appropriate time bringing it to everybody. Like, so it would never, and I think that's important too, because
May not have the right answer, and it's useful. Yeah. And
well, you don't want to give impressions that, two people are on the side,
it's never about a vote. It's not about that. It's just more about getting thoughts about someone who might have experience or opinions that you don't.
I think this is not really related, I guess, but I mean, I think as a district, working on relationships with media more proactively would maybe be helpful, but also people who may not show up to meetings specifically, but are in that field. Like if you know an architect or something, it'd be like, hey, we're we're gonna have this big renovation of such and such. Can I just pick your brain about some ideas or thoughts of, what you've seen before to kind of build more support in the community kind of with the subject matter experts sometimes. I mean, again, this always is like you have a cajillion things to do, but ideally it'd be nice to reach out to people who know uh, about marine sciences, about, we're thinking about this curriculum change or whatever, to not just wait for people to come to our meetings or show an interest, but to go out.
Yeah, that's okay. That's good.
As long as you're not
You've
telling
done
them,
that,
"Make sure you
right?
vote
You-
For this, or make sure you support this, but
You've done that, and then you gave us information that you had gathered, and then that's up.
Well, but I no,
No, not that.
I haven't talked to, you know, I can't even think of an instance, but I mean, let's say we're if there was a playground expert that I knew in the district, a parent or something,
Mhm.
it'd be nice if like someone, either a board member or someone from the district reached out and was like, you're not really hired, but can we just talk about this? To get their ideas, because maybe then they could spread the word to other families and that sort of
in one way I've done that a lot is site councils. Is I've had people who have like an experience on something. I'm like, hey, this is something that's the site is thinking about. Have you thought about joining the Forest Grove Site Council to discuss?
Another thing that I think needs more layman's language. The site council feels like a
It's bearing exercise.
yeah.
Okay. Having gone through this self-evaluation process, maybe we can go around the table. Are there things that you want to put on the table of changing of how you've operated in order to make yourself a better board? Maybe we just go around the table, and this isn't the end of that discussion. This is just the beginning of that discussion. So, maybe Beth, is there anything that comes to your mind that
Yes, there
Okay.
is.
Yeah.
Okay, well, my only thing is because I got a flood of emails criticizing me for something I said at a board meeting. At first, I got a couple of emails like the Friday after the board meeting. And then on the Monday, I'm getting more and more, Tuesday, more and more. Now, these emails aren't just going to me, they're going to everybody. I mean, the rest of the board and superintendent. And, after a while, I thought like, oh, it started to feel weird that I didn't get any feedback from my fellow board members. And I wanted to. And I'm not sure if they feel like that was a Brown Act violation. I don't know. But I would like to, even if maybe they didn't agree with what I said, because I was getting this, I mean, I have never, all the years I've been on the board in the past, I've never gotten emails like this. And kind of speaking to what you said, Lou, before about the culture of the time, like people were like extrapolating meanings to what I said that was like, I mean, they were like page long emails. Like, what? Anyway, so I mean, and because of that, because it was so, I felt like it was so out there, and
You mean public out there?
no, I mean,
Beat some sentiment.
because I feel like it was such an odd
Hmm.
and extreme response. And that, I mean, I was getting a list of people that signed it, like, and so I wanted to hear more from you guys.
Yeah, I'll speak for myself. I mean, that's like a It's, it was Brown Act year. I mean, and sort of an awkward situation, but mostly Brown Act, like,
Well, Lou,
It's-
what could you say in that situation?
The board couldn't comment outside of a board meeting to you on it, or it would be.
So Mike
So-
couldn't text me and say, sorry that you're here, you're getting all these emails.
Oh, you could do that.
That's all I wanted.
Yeah.
Not,
Yeah.
I don't need a
Yeah.
comment on the content,
Yeah.
just an acknowledgement that like, oh man, sorry about
You're,
this.
you're
Yeah.
having the, yeah. That would not be a Brown Act violation.
Okay.
For Mike to say, I disagree with these comments and here's my opinion, that would be a Brown Act.
Uh-huh.
But for Mike to say, I'm sorry that you're getting this kind of messages,
Yeah,
that's fine.
Okay.
Or I'm sorry how this might make you feel, or, yeah.
This is gonna be too little too late, but that's okay. So I wanted to text you. I thought about texting you, and then I thought, I sound so bad saying it out loud, but I thought, I didn't know not that how you would receive it, but you strike me as such a yeah, you're like hardcore, like you just like I would I thought I thought like I mean I would be upset about it, and thinking about you, I know I'm a very sensitive person though.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that you're not a sensitive person, but what I'm saying is that
I could handle it.
you can I thought,
But-
she's
and I
probably
felt
just
that
like
way.
this, like
No,
whatever.
and I was that way until like Monday and Tuesday. And then I was like, okay,
in my mind's
this is
eye,
so
in
crazy.
in my
Really,
mind's eye, your response was like, whatever. You know what? I said my piece, and you guys can
Yeah.
think whatever you want. And in my mind, I was thinking, I wanted to text you, but I thought maybe you would
Thank
think
you.
that I was being like my typical soft self. That's like, let me.
Oh, and then
bomb
I
you.
would scoff at you. Oh, Lord,
No, but I
come on.
mean, no, not like that.
No.
But I just
Oh.
didn't know that you needed it.
Oh, okay. Well,
And-
that's good. I mean,
In
I just wanted to
future-
bring it up because you're right. I definitely would, that wouldn't, and it didn't bother me
Until
until
the
like,
barrage of all
until
of it, yeah.
Monday and Tuesday. And it was like, what? So it felt so off the charts, and that's the only time. I mean, otherwise you're totally right. I wouldn't.
No matter how tough we might look on the outside, we all have feelings.
I mean, she did say that she wanted to tussle in the meetings or whatever. She was I'm fine with it. So-
Sorry you experienced that.
Anyway,
Yeah,
That
I
was
think I might have, on that fact, I think I might have emailed you, Linda, I think again for the Brown Act part, just to say like a little bit of my piece. And I can admit here, like, if you
Mm.
notice, I'm no longer trustee Dr. Mr. Ex-President, the fourth Hazen. I just want to be Dr. Hazen or trustee Hazen,
Right.
either one, for that reason. Because again, I think part of what I heard is that, again, people felt very strongly about that, right? And that was a feeling that the public had, whether it was the way you intended it or not. And I fully believe you did not intend it that way.
mm,
But the fact that feeling was out there, I thought was important for us all to hear. So thank you for taking the brunt of it for all of us, so that I could also correct that myself. But that was, again, the Brown Act part was definitely part of my concern. I think I mentioned something to you, but I think
Yeah.
you were passing just of like, hey, are you okay? But not specific at all because of.
Yeah.
well, and I think I'm bringing it up because I think in the future that all of us should feel, like we could be that kind of supportive where we're not violating Brown Act, but we're just letting the other person know like, hey, got your back,
Hey, human,
human.
other
Yeah.
human that has
Taking
feelings.
it
Yeah.
right person
Yeah.
to person as a human being.
The Brown Act does not prevent human kindness.
Oh, good.
So,
That's good.
Got that,
Hasn't
Mike?
reached that far yet.
So for nice, we can talk about that. Just kidding,
Yeah.
joke.
Okay. Elliot, anything that you want to bring up that changes of how you operate as a board member and the board operates?
No, I mean, honestly, again, I think we have our moments of perfection and our moments of mistakes. And again, I think I'll say about our board and our governance team more broadly, we do try to learn from those mistakes and get better. And so that's all I would ask. It's just that's all of it. We are all human. So if each of us does mess up, please don't, if I do call your opinions useless and invalid as I look at you, Laura, please don't get personal. Maybe
Point taken.
maybe I hadn't had dinner tonight, right? And so there might be a reason behind that. So it's just, again, we all are going to make those mistakes, and yeah, and I think that reminding each other, as Beth did, that we're all human is the right path forward.
Laura, any changes that you would like to see on the board?
I think for me, I'll speak personally, is that there have been times that I have been talking or sharing my thoughts about something. And what is disheartening or has been disheartening on occasion is eye rolling or scowling or and it's sort of like it's difficult to receive in the moment, but it's also something that's not necessary. There is a time and place for all of that. And if it needs to be at a break in the bathroom where, somebody gets all their sighing out or their eye rolling out or they're scowling out at that moment. But when another human being is talking or another trustee is talking, or if there's somebody up at the podium that's talking, it doesn't take a lot of effort, even if you completely disagree, to keep your face either slightly smiling or flat or whatever, but visibly and audibly showing somebody that in the moment you disagree is just, for me, feels a little bit out of bounds because it's so easy to control. So if there's one thing that I could say, it's respect for other board members as they're speaking and respect for community members as they're speaking as well, because it takes a lot to voice ideas and concerns and opinions. And no matter what role you're in on the board, no role is more important than any other. We are all equal members of the board. And so I think there should be equal respect amongst all of us. So if I could change one thing, it would be that maintaining respect.
Thank you for that, because that is critically important. Because you guys sitting up there set the standard of conduct for your schools, for your community, what's acceptable and what isn't acceptable. Showing that respect to each other as well as the community, as well as the staff is really important. So, thanks. Mike, anything you would like to?
I think as a board, the kind of some of the perfunctory or pro forma replies, like you were saying, to be actually more human about things when people are coming to the podium and feel impassioned and stuff. I think that's, again, I think it comes out of a place of not wanting to show favoritism, and I know that was like a focus in your presidency too, of like trying to be above board, but it's I also want to respect the community in that way. And this is a lifelong challenge, but being organized beforehand and having thoughts in bullet points or written out is a forever challenge. I'd like to go on less tangents. And for more impassioned votes, I'd like to get better at like the justification or reasoning behind the vote beyond, well, yeah, I guess I'd like to kind of state the case clearly, just for the record, I guess, as opposed to leaving doubt or confusion in the public's mind. I mean, I don't know if that would really solve anything, but I guess just to have it on the record in a clear format would be good. So I don't think it'll happen though. I'm jumbled brain up in here.
No, I think you articulated it well, and the next step is just doing it. So,
True.
yeah.
The hardest part.
That's the hard part. The hard part, but you can remind yourself when you're up there.
Yeah.
That this is what you need to do. One of the things I think that might have been really good tonight is just an open, frank discussion among yourselves about this. And you don't have to fill out a self-evaluation form. If periodically you want to have a meeting like this to discuss your functioning as a board, it's going to be noticed like that, we did. But you can have this kind of meeting just to clear the air and have dialogue. So whenever you're feeling a need, talk to the superintendent or board president and say, I think we need to have a check-in among the board, how we're doing, and have this kind of discussion. I think it's very productive in building the relationships that the Brown Act kind of prevents. Puts up obstacles.
I was just going to quickly say on that. I mean, one thing I know we brought up before, I do think for this, I would be really interested in getting a public and stuff. And that to me is something I know we brought up before, and I know we probably drown them with surveys in some ways, but I do think it's important other than just at the voting booth to figure out what does the public feel we're doing well and not on. And again, there'll be some probably difficult answers. I look at, based on our discussion, but I think that's more important than our self-reflection on this. Yeah.
How many voters do you have in the district that voted in the last election?
12,000 voted, right? Yeah.
It's a lot of people.
15,000 community members, right? So that's,
But even just staff, finding out how staff feels. I mean, and if that's via an email survey, something like that, and it's participate if you want or not. I don't know. I mean, that might be a can of worms, but at least we would know how we're viewed.
Yeah.
And if it's like 3 questions as opposed to 48 or whatever,
Yeah, no, it's a good point.
Could be how much do you love the board?
Yeah.
100% to 300.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I hope it was a productive and useful spend of a few hours tonight. We have like 25 to 27 minutes until 10, and we don't have to stay until 10. But we also were going to potentially talk about the foundation. We could put it off to another meeting, or if you have questions about the foundation, we could deal with it. So it's your meeting. What would you like to do?
I go other meeting.
I feel honestly, I'm blaming Jen again, but it would be good to have all 5 of us here for that. That would be really useful to do, but I would like to have that.
You all got, so Lou had sent some great information. I'll include it again and then that's the updated sweep, but just to, review that. And then maybe in the meantime, if there are any questions from any of you, maybe kind of pull those together and I can gather them from you and get them to Lou in preparation for our next session. Yeah.
And then I would like to say too that if I really like the idea of us. I know that we have a lot of meetings, but I do like the idea of us taking time to do this, even if we're not having active issues or there's not like contention or thing, because it really is nice to be able to sit here and have discussions about, even if the world's not watching, but even if it has to be recorded and agendized and all of that. But I just think it's important just for the connection piece, because we're all human beings and we all need to, I know I do.
Vent
And also feel like be able to look at each other in the eyes and have a conversation that isn't yay or nay, or completely scripted based off of what's on the agenda. So
Lewis, we'll see you here tomorrow.
All right.
Thank you, Lewis.
All right. That kind of.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, yeah. Do you want me to bring it there? You can do it from where you're sitting.
Hell yeah.
Meeting adjourned.
you can just clap.
Yeah,
Wait, yeah.
adjourned.
Okay,
Oh,
thank you all.
9:25.
Good job.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone.